This room is Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, I can hear you great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi.
Sarah, we just have you on mute while we're waiting to start the meeting. We do not have quorum yet, but we may in just a moment, so hang tight.
There we go.
Hello. Thank you for joining us. We have not started the meeting yet, but we will in just a moment. Until then, I'm going to mute the mic.
We have a meeting, we're going to record the meeting and it'll be available on the city's website so that folks who want to come and see what a police review and recommend committee public meeting looks like have access to that. So,
One more,
oh, Michael Harper,
just a moment.
excellent. And Mr. Salazio.
Welcome, Michael. Can you hear us?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to go back to mute. I'm
Okay,
loud and clear now.
okay, and so I think we're going to get the meeting started. We are live on YouTube and I will be recording in just a moment, so you'll see a prompt that I'm recording. And we'll let John open the meeting, so hang tight a moment.
All right, looks like it's recording, so we can get started. Thank you, everyone. We don't have any members of the public on the call and none in the room, but as I just explained before a couple of people joined us, we're going to hold this public meeting as required by code, and it'll be saved and recorded on the city's website. So preserved for eternity, not for eternity, but for quite some time. The agenda is we're going to have public comment. Doesn't look like we're going to have much of that. Steve will take over after I do some do the agenda and introduce the committee purpose and how we do our work. Why do we do what we do and how do we do it? Alyssa and I will talk about the complaint process, and committee members can chime in. We'll talk a little bit about the training that the committee has had and may be interested in having. And there were some attachments that were provided in advance and are available on the website. Shall we do introductions before I start? I'm John Williams, City Manager.
Alyssa Preston, Deputy City Manager and HR Director.
Well, we're all looking at the screen. We can start with Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek Ranke, and committee member.
Excellent. Keisha.
Hi, Keisha Onwood, committee member.
Fantastic. Michael.
Good afternoon, Michael Harper, committee member.
And Sarah.
Hello, Sarah Werboff, committee member.
Fantastic. And you folks, let us know if you can't hear us. We're at varying distances from the microphone here, but we can pack in if need be. We'll keep going around the table.
Leo Groner, City Council. Jack Snook, Committee.
Otis Rollins, please stand.
Mike Salvaggio, Committee Member. Steve Kramer, Committee Member.
Thank you. And so for folks who don't know, the Police Review and Recommend Committee has been around since 2023. Council adopted the ordinance in 2022. And one of the things I want to make sure to do is thank all of you for your service in this committee. It's been a lot of time and energy, but really valuable. I can speak for all of us on staff when I say that we really appreciate the work that you do. I think this committee makes a fantastic difference, and it's a key piece of ensuring accountability at the city for the things that we do and providing some transparency into how we do what we do. We're all committed to this work, and I just want to thank you for what you're doing and how you do it. Yeah, we did it. We went all the way around.
Thank you for that.
I'm pretty sure we did. We can go around again, but I won't do that. Before I turn it over to Steve, I will ask if there are any public comments. The only person not on the team is Councilor Groner, and I think you told us at the beginning, no public comments from you.
No, I just want to thank our police department. There's been some controversy, and apparently there's some legislation showing up in some states about police officers or wearing masks and not being identified. And I want to congratulate our police department for displaying faces and badges. Thank you.
Okay. Why don't we turn it over to Mr. Kramer, who has volunteered to go through how the committee works and how we do it.
Sure, and I'd like to thank the city. Prepared a memorandum that I believe is available on the website as well. This entire memo, is this is or is not?
No, the agenda.
The agenda, okay. So in any event, I think the purpose or why it exists and what we do, everything really that I would talk about is found in the Westland Municipal Code, which is pretty much what dictates why we exist, what we do and how we do it at section 2.250 through 2.290. for people that are interested in our role, I think the most important, in my opinion, the most important thing to remember is that we only make recommendations. We don't actually implement anything. We make the recommendations to certain members. I believe the city manager, the chief of police, city council are kind of the three primary areas. And we generally make recommendations that to date have been entirely consistent with, I think, what the city is already thinking about or is already going to do. So there's been zero conflict or anything like that between us and the city. We make recommendations specifically on areas related to the department's complaint process, actual complaints, and the department's policy per the code. Most of our time, I think, has been spent dealing with complaints. We're involved in pretty much every complaint that's made against department members. Obviously, we're not going to go into any, just for an overview of where we spend the bulk of our time that may be of interest to anybody who's watching this. Almost all of our time, if not substantially all of it, is spent on dealing with the complaints and going through those and then making recommendations to the chief where needed. Candidly, I speak for myself only, but I suspect most of the members, if not all, would agree with me, and that is that we have had just 100% support from the chief and from the police department with everything that we've done since this committee started and since I've been on it. So very appreciative of that. As part of what we do is we make a presentation to the city council. It's once a year at the beginning.
Yep.
And we'll be doing that again this year. I'm not sure what more I should be saying right now. Sure. Kind of like, that's pretty much what we do is we focus on these areas, complaints and department policy.
Awesome time. If any of the committee members want to chime in on what you do and how we do it, Alyssa is going to cover a little bit of what complaint is and what it's not, and the practicalities of how we process it. But if anyone wants to add to that intro, certainly welcome to right now. And not seeing any, we can keep going through, I think. One thing I do want to say is there will be openings on the committee in 2026. And so there'll be a call for volunteers at the end of this year for potential appointment early in 2026. So I want the members of the public to know all that. And there's a lot more details about how that works when it comes around. So I think the next step is to turn it over to Alyssa and talk about our process. Deputy City Manager Alyssa Preston is also our HR Director and has been taking a lead role in much of what we do in here.
Thank you. So most of the time, the Police Review and Recommend Committee spends their time participating in staff level review of individual complaints about conduct by members of our police department. And so what I mean by participating is that they they participate in discussions with the city manager, myself, the police chief, and the city attorney. They will make observations and share recommendations with the staff, but there's no voting or polling of members. The decision-making authority about what to do rests with the city. Of course, there are many employment laws and you will see in the attachments, there's LESC rules that we follow for law enforcement disciplinary action. So I'll just go over what a complaint is. A complaint is an allegation or misconduct, allegation of misconduct or improper job performance by a Westland Police Department officer that has been brought to the city's attention. We do have an anonymous third party online and by phone complaint system. It's called Ethics Point. That is on our website, but it is run by a third party. We also have, again, you could make a complaint by the phone, by voicemail, We have seen complaints made on social media. It could be in person or other. What a complaint is or does not include is like a civil lawsuit or a pending criminal lawsuit or a violation, something that the city has to evaluate on a case-by-case basis. If or when it would be appropriate to bring to this committee, but usually those lawsuits are not reviewed until the lawsuit has come to fruition, has completed. And then most internal HR related complaints, internal PD are not reviewed by the committee. When a complaint is received, the members of this group are required to come to a meeting with the city manager, the HR director, police chief, and attorney, where we would discuss and go over all of the available documentation. That could be reports, body worn camera footage, etc. And we would hold a meeting to discuss whether or not an investigation is recommended, whether it's internal or external investigation or none should be pursued. The members, like I said, do receive access to all confidential information, which is why our meetings are closed to the public. This includes criminal justice information system documentation. Usually at the next meeting or the next meeting where this complaint is discussed, the staff members will present a proposed resolution. That could be long after, an investigation has been completed. It could be, no investigation was needed, but we did send the complainant a resolution letter. And members then have an opportunity to weigh in on proposed resolution, whether they've reviewed the investigation report or they would like more information to be gathered. And I want to stop right there and ask the committee if they will have anything that they want to add to what our process is. This is pretty summarized pretty quickly. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to note that how that links into the impetus of the committee, which was brought up in the years following the George Floyd killing nationally, and then the Timmy's situation out at West Lynn specifically. And I think it was the formation of the committee was a very great response to a population that had begun to rightly question what other significant and important safeguards were in effect. And I understand, as do a lot of people, that when there's discipline regarding a police officer, it can often be an arcane process. And so one of the things that attracted me to doing this was to help build that trust back in the city by having individual people's eyes on it, as opposed to, just trusting that black box. I think that it's safe to say that we typically have, I don't want to put words into anyone else's mouth, but from my perspective, it seems safe to say that the department has been doing a good job giving to what our sensibilities would be in each situation. I hope that moving forward, there can be more of a record kept in some format, so that one doesn't just have to take my word or anyone else's word on it during one of the two annual public meetings. But I'm proud of the work that we've done getting to this point, and I don't want to lose sight of the fact that the review of the complaints process was brought up because of the very real and very certain situations that were happening locally around the country at the time.
Does anyone online want to add to this? No, okay. So after, towards the end of the year, an annual report is produced by staff. That includes the number of complaints, the types of complaints, and resolution of those complaints. That report is reviewed by the committee and then drafts their own report to identify policies that should be reviewed or training areas that the police department should consider. 2 public meetings are required per year according to code, one of which does give that feedback report to the council, and this being the other meeting. In response to last year's report from this committee to staff and to the city council, we as a committee have made a lot of process improvements this year in 2025. One being that the code does not call for or provide for a committee chair member. Everyone has equal footing because again, there's no voting or whatnot, but I think everyone felt like it was a good idea to have a committee point person to kind of help keep meetings flowing, and then also a staff point person, which is my role. So Steve Kramer is currently the committee point person, and he just helps keep those meetings on task, keeps members accountable. And then I am the staff point person because usually there are 4 staff members at every meeting, but it's just helpful for scheduling and so forth. And that includes, you know, regular scheduling, having agendas for each meeting. And again, just maybe running a little bit more of a smooth meeting and process. Each of the committee members receive a resource binder when they come on to the committee, or at least the intent is when they come on to the committee that they're going to receive a resource binder. None of it has any confidential information in it, but it's really just to help assist them in their role on the committee. We also, as a committee, worked several meetings, partial of the meetings, to come up with committee working agreements. So the committee has a set mutual expectation for decorum during those meetings that this committee came up with. And so those have been really helpful in the meetings, I think. Part of the code also requires that committee members go through some training. And some of that training is training that we as staff feel would be helpful to them in their role. And then some of that training is training that they've requested. So we will discuss that in a moment. And then because of public records law and record keeping, we have recently started keeping a case binder. So that case binder does have complaint tracking. We as staff have complaint tracking, but the committee would like one. So we have a binder that has, they cannot take home any of the information that they receive in these meetings. So that binder would have the complaint, the resolution. If there was an investigation, it would have the investigation report. It's just to help remember or jog their memory. And they can write in that binder if they have any comments that they want to make. And then that also helps them review at the end of the year any of the information that they have reviewed or forgotten about over the year. And then it is our intent at the end of this year to also review the prior year statistics, or I guess it would be at the beginning of the year, prior year statistics to also help just with information gathering for the committee. Is there any committee member that wants to add to that?
Okay.
Okay.
One thing I think we haven't said is the scale of the work. I didn't bring exact numbers. Most years, I think it's been about half a dozen. complaints. And Lisha, we mentioned earlier, all the formats that a complaint can come in. It's really a fairly small number. And some of them require quite a bit of work and review of documents or video, so it can take a while, but the overall workload, which we're very proud of, is not that high.
So when we are not meeting, we do try to meet once a month. When we are not meeting or do not have a complaint or a case to review or to follow up on, we have also been putting in some training opportunities for the committee members. And so, Steve, if you want to share committee training.
Yeah, I'm glad to. So we've had a few training sessions this year in 2025. And we obviously greatly appreciate the efforts of the city in both making all the contacts and putting them together. One was a presentation by the city's labor and employment law dealing with, there's two bargaining units. I think it's the sergeants and officers are in separate unions, or are they in the same union? Separate unions. The officers and the non-sworn employees who are in separate.
Yeah.
Through Clackamas County. In any event, we were fortunate to have the city labor attorney here kind of give us a presentation on the nuts and bolts of how that works and how discipline works in relation to the union contract and some of the state statutes that apply to employment laws for public employees and specifically police officers. So that was extremely helpful and informative. Another training class we had that actually, I believe, went over 2 months period, if I recall correctly, was on implicit associations and bias training put on by a consultant, Tricia Brand, I believe, out of the San Francisco area now. And that was very good, just talking about how bias impacts how we basically fill in gaps in our reasoning and decision making. And it was, I think, very good use of our time to attend that. And then the city attorney, who's probably got a very full plate since she hasn't been here very long and has got a lot to catch up on, was able to take some time to give us a class, just kind of an overview of best practices and primarily related to public records laws and how they interact with what we're doing. That's all I have.
I will also, please
I
go
just-
ahead.
I just wanted to add that we also all took the mandatory government ethics class that because we serve on a city committee, we're all required to take. It was about public meetings law, which doesn't necessarily apply to us except for kind of this unique circumstance. So I just wanted to mention that we all also did that.
Thank you. The committee also in January of this year made a recommendation that we have customer service training for our police force. And so I just wanted to report out that we did have some, it's called HART, it's HART Conflict Resolution Training for all of our staff in April of 2025. So we did follow that recommendation. Is there any other information that committee members want to share out or discuss?
The committee member, Michael Harper, we also had an opportunity to interact with the police officers by either doing a drive along or just interacting with them. So getting an understanding of their role with us. It wasn't for them to know what we do, it's for us to know what they do.
Captain, anything from the PD perspective to add?
No, just on an overall basis, I would like to say that we are very pleased with the collaborative nature of the partnership that we have created over the past couple of years with the Community Recommend Committee. I'll echo what Steve said. It does seem as though that when a complaint comes in and this particular body goes into triage and analyze it, that we have all been very much kind of like-minded in our analysis and our resolutions when it comes to the complaints. I think that shows a very, very high level of fairness and kind of neutrality with all the partners in. None of this process is really being swayed to one guardrail or the other. We're right down the middle. And of course, the objective overall is to look at each one of these particular challenges that come in through an objective and a fair and a reasonable lens. And I think it's been a resounding success so far. I hope that we can continue to have that same path.
One thing that I would add that has really, I think, added a ton of value is the body worn camera footage. It's such a powerful tool to understanding what happens in an event. And it's fascinating because we've all been in stressful situations in our lives. Our perception of that is one thing. The video footage shows things in sometimes a different light, sometimes completely confirmed, sometimes it's a little bit different, but really helps this group work through an understanding of what a situation may have been and how we might do better in the future. So I just, that initiative came out of the police department originally. And I think it's been a huge. I think that's most of what we have on our agenda. Any committee member happy to speak up right now? Otherwise, our next public meeting will be in January as required by the code, and a review of year's work and another opportunity for members of the community to ask questions. And the January meeting is usually presented to the city council, or is required to be presented to the city council.
Can I ask a question? Yeah, I understand at that meeting you will be presenting some statistics about the numbers and the disposition of various complaints. It just, especially with small numbers, it's very hard to put them into any context. So year-to-year trends would be valuable, and maybe comparisons with other cities, if they have a similar process or similar statistics, would be very useful to put these numbers in context.
Okay, appreciate that. Whatever would be most helpful to council, I think, is great information for us to use and think about as we prepare. Happy to do that. And I think we're proud to be one of the few communities our size that has this sort of process. So in terms of a committee like this, we're somewhat unique among smaller cities. Most cities that have an oversight committee, it's a much larger cities in Oregon that have that. So there's not a lot of comparable data out there presented by other groups. So we may know a little bit that we can find from other cities. So that's a great suggestion. Looks like there was just I saw a comment pop up in the chat.
Oh, I don't know if you're able to read that on your screen there in the room, but one idea might be a simple metric like complaints per call for service or something like that, just in terms of so what volume of interactions with the public lead to a complaint. And I think that you probably could get that from some other jurisdictions as well, just in terms of a benchmark.
Appreciate that. Thank you. For sense of scale, Captain, do I recall it's about 12,000 calls per service?
Usually between 12 and 13,000 contacts per year.
Okay.
So if we're working on the number of, say, 6 to 8 complaints a year, we can do that math. And
yep.
Pretty small number. Yeah, I agree. That's a helpful metric for us. Thank you.
Sorry. Do a metric like that, we need to other call interactions. Because I've had the officers have a lot of interactions. Morning. That just came out organically as a result of calls. Is that?
yeah, no, so that 12 to 13,000 number, that would represent the number of police contacts. Okay. So that would involve calls for service and self-initiated activity. Yes.
That would be everything that gets in.
Correct.
Traffic stops, everything. Every comments.
Yes, sir.
Doesn't count every sticker handed out at the Old Town Fair.
Oh, yeah. So the kiosk,
That would be another 10,000.
Which is the Starbucks contacts.
Appreciate it. Anything else from our friends online? In that case, we can conclude the public part of this meeting. Very much appreciate you all attending and your work on this group. And Alyssa will stop the recording.
I'm going to stop the recording, but for the committee members, there's no cases for us to review today, so you get the rest of the afternoon off.
I have one thing, but we can do it after you stop the recording.